not just in Dublin, there wasn't a bedside anywhere that didn't have songs of Leonard Cohen and songs from my room. But funny when you mentioned the albums, I remember the first time I got into my hand songs of Love and Hate, and the poem on the back of it, they locked up a man who wanted to rule the world of fools, they locked up the wrong man. I remember thinking, that was just a perfect example of the honesty that Cohen had, the willingness to bare his soul and his guts and his heart. And I suppose that's one of the things when you talk about tracking the albums through your life. I'm assuming that everybody here has had the same experience. You know, he began by writing songs for grown-up people, but he has continued to write songs for grown-up people. And the fact that he hasn't tried to remain 36 or 38 all his life, that he has gone with the process, and the stories of his life have become our stories. And that's the great thing about him, I suppose, but any great writer, that you latch on to the things that you recognise in someone's life from your own life, and there's so many of them there in his.
And that is true about being grown-up songs. And I have a son who's doing mathematics in university, and he wasn't sure what to do when he came to the end of his second level education. And there was a professor of mathematics in the and said, "Oh, let's go and talk to him." And so we had a long conversation with a guy called David Sims, who looked like Albert Einstein with a big shock of white hair. And after I said to my son, "Donegal, what did you make?" He said, "I couldn't understand 80% what I'm talking about, but I was desperate to understand." And I said, "That's what you must study, because you're hunger." And listening to Cohen's songs, listening to those early albums as a child, it was like the first adult book I read was A Picture of Dorian Gray by Oscar Wilde. I didn't understand it, but I knew there was a strange, troubling adult world out there. And listening to the songs of those early albums, I didn't understand them, and I didn't understand the Stranger song, I didn't understand all these songs, and yet I felt, I want to know. This is my passport into a world that I won't fully understand immediately, and very, very slowly as I go up, I hope that one day I'll put on these albums and I will understand. And that's the other thing, when I listen to albums again, 20 years later, they've changed. In a way that when you read Ulysses, when you're young, Leopold Bloom seems like an old man, and then you realise he's actually a young man as you get older. But does your understanding of the songs change as you listen back to those albums now with your life experience of the decade that you've aged?
I think it does, because I'm 20 years behind Cohen age-wise, so I suppose it's been great actually. It's been like having somebody who goes out as a kind of a pioneer to do the investigation for you, and is there ahead of you and can send back messages saying this is what it's like. It's not always like the way he says it is, but it often is. And yeah, of course, the understanding of the songs comes from a different point as you progress through life, and it isn't just about the freshness of the music, it's about the fact of going back to even the first, second, third albums, to go back to the freshness and that depth that you were talking about. I think that's the wonderful thing about 99% of the songs he's written, is the fact that each time you go back, you find something fresh, you find something new, you find something that you hadn't spotted the first time, just in terms of a reflection of your own experience in your own life.
And the song was Bob Dylan renews the songs by changing the words. Leonard Cohen's songs are renewed with the same words by the experience.
But I take your word for it on Dylan, because twice I've seen him, I haven't understood a word he said. Once he sang with his back to the audience.
Did you see him with his teeth in or with his teeth out?
I've no idea, because he had the last time I saw him he had a hoodie on, and he stood with his back to the audience for the 2 hours. And I had no idea what he... In fact, it may not have been Dylan.
That was one of the best things about the Cohen concerts, was that he was, when he came back in these last decade, not by decade, last decade, the generosity of those concerts in Kilmainham and all over the world, and I've seen them in Kilmainham, I saw them in the Point, and then I've seen videos and films of them, and the generosity of the thing that he was. I remember Chuck Berry coming to Dublin a couple of years ago and playing 60 minutes exactly, and not knowing the words of the songs, and there was an extraordinary sense of generosity and giving in all those concerts in Lissadell and throughout the world, of a man who truly appreciated that his fans had kept his music alive, and that he wanted to give 100% back of what was there. I would, if I had the choice of being stopped by a Garda superintendent, police superintendent, and being verticalised by 5 times over the speed limit and wearing only a pair of boxer shorts, or interviewing Leonard Cohen, I think I'd be stopped by the policeman, because it would terrify me. But you have interviewed Leonard Cohen. What's the first question you asked Leonard Cohen?
The first time I interviewed him was in Jury's Hotel. The first question hard question. He didn't warn me about this. I think the first thing I said was, how's it going? And he said, in that lovely way he does, it's going pretty good. The big, actually, do you know, the big miss, the second time I interviewed him, which was also in juries, Famous Blue Raincoat, Jennifer Warnes had just come out. And towards the end of the interview I said to him, have you ever sung Song of Bernadette? And he said, no, I haven't. And I said, would you sing it for me? And he thought for a long time and he said, okay. He didn't have a guitar. And he was just about to sing it when the door opened and the tour manager said, there's somebody waiting for the next interview. We have to finish now. And that was the end of it. It was just one of those moments where I thought, wow, that would have been me. This
banks with Coleridge and Kubrick and midway through. It is an equally seminal moment.
But it was for me.
It was for you. What are your impressions of the man when you interviewed him? Because I was speaking to one of you, so you talked about his generosity. What was he like to interview?
He was wonderful, and the first time I interviewed him, when I'd finished the interview, my 4-year-old daughter was outside the door, and I said to him, is there any chance we could get a photograph of Lydia with you and myself? And he said, sure, no problem. And I brought her in, and he had just packed his case and he was ready to head for the airport. And we got the photograph, and then he said, I want to give your daughter some candy. And he opened his suitcase and took out all the clothes and took out the shoes, and then couldn't find the candy. So I remember he had a little pin, a guitar pin, which was I think the logo for that particular tour, and he took it off and gave it to her, and he said, I'm sorry I don't have any candy, that's a present for you. And when she got home, her mother took it from her and still has it. But that was just symptomatic of, like, when he played Lissadell, a friend of mine was at the concert in Lissadell, and just before it began, she had a brain hemorrhage, and she was whipped away to hospital. And I let him know about this, and he wrote her a beautiful letter. And one of the lines in it, he said, I hope it wasn't the music that brought on the attack. And she said to me afterwards, it was worth having his brain hemorrhage. But those are just small, he's just, I mean, those of you who know him will know that he has a wonderful sense of humour, first of all. It really irks me when people talk about the Razor Blade. It's so lazy, and it's just so dated, and it's so cliched, and it's so untrue. But there's just a generosity of spirit. I mean, it comes off the stage. It comes off the stage to 10,000 people, and it's certainly, you know, on a one-to-one basis. There's a quietness, there's a peace, there's a sense of humour. I was talking the other day to Jim Lockhart, who was in a band called Horselips, which some of you may remember. And he said to me, and I thought it hit the nail on the head, he said, I think, you know, underneath it all, Cohen is a country singer who writes good lyrics. And that's pretty, yeah, I thought that was pretty astute.
What he said on comments on the actual, on the forum, this might be your only chance. It's good.
Yeah, no, that's great.
That's great. You're obviously very, very popular on the forum, you know?
I haven't been on the forum in years, actually. I was involved in some, yeah, the forum is a strange place, isn't it? I mean, there are some strange battles fought there. All in the name of peace. But anyway, there they are.
If you had to pick one Leonard Cohen song, as you said, this for me sums up Leonard Cohen, or this is a song. I mean, I picked out one for my funeral,
have you?
I have, yeah.
What's yours? So have I, isn't that funny? So have I.
Well, I mean, this may be a race to death, John, you know?
Yeah, that's right. Go.
It would be your will.
Oh, well, we can get the same person to do it.
Absolutely.
Isn't it wonderful that great minds think alike and fools seldom differ?
As a mixer, you know?
But just love that line.
Because it is so simple,
yes.
It's so sparse,
yeah. And
there's nothing wasted. And I'm always somebody who remember Johnny Mitchell being asked about that young generation of songwriters, that they just want to hold the line. And it's that thing that in poetry, there can be no lodgers. Every word has to keep in a line. And there is that sense of just, that sparse lyric grace that to me, that epitomises Cohen's work. And also epitomises your own novels as well, that lovely sparse lyrical writing from Clare all the way through all those novels. And do you feel that your own writing style has been inspired by listening to Cohen and by his ability to actually sort of pare things down to the essence of emotion and humanity?
Yeah, I would think so. I mean, when I'm writing, I listen to music all the time. I'm very often it's Leonard Cohen music that I listen to. And I suppose, you know, there are two songs, to go back to the previous question. If it be your will, first of all, because that line, all your children here in our lines of light, I mean, that's who we are, that's what we are. And I was thinking about this the other day. I was thinking about it in terms of the Holocaust. I was thinking about it in terms of the famine here in Ireland. And the other song, I suppose, one of the great things about him, going back to, I suppose, when I was younger, was the fact that that lack of fear. Take This Longing is one of my favourite songs. And I mean, it's such a sexual and such a sensual song. And the fact that he wasn't afraid to be sexual, to be sensual in his writing, that for me was a huge liberation, to think that you could do that. And when I say get away with it, I don't mean get away with it in the sense of get off scot-free, but carry it off. Yeah, so of course those two influences, the simplicity, as you say, but also the courage to be who he is and to say what he says. And
it takes great courage to be simple.
It does, yeah.
To be simple is to be naked, and that's what comes being all of
it's the gift to be simple, it's the gift to be free. It's the gift to come down where we ought to be.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take a 10-minute break just to let people stretch their legs, and we'll do a very exciting second half of the spoken word. I want to thank John McKenna for giving us this talk.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.